Welcome back, folks. This is Election Projections' second 2016 election update video, and I'm very excited about having had this program started. I got some good feedback from last week's video, and one of the things that was sent in by a reader is the idea to incorporate some graphics and graphs and things like that into the video. So keep a lookout for something along those lines coming up here in a little bit. All right, so let's go back and look at what we've seen this last week in the primary election season. The Republicans in South Carolina held their primary last Saturday, and Democrats in Nevada held their caucuses. So first we'll look at South Carolina, where Donald Trump solidified his position as the clear frontrunner. He was able to win not only the 29 delegates for winning the popular vote statewide, but he also carried every single district within South Carolina. So that got him another 21 delegates. So he is now up in the 80s as far as his delegate total. And he's distancing himself from the second place and third place candidates, Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio. That lead was actually increased once we went to Nevada on Tuesday, where he also won that hands down, getting actually more votes than Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz combined. So he's out there in front for sure. And really, I think that his path to the nomination is very clear. The only way that I believe at this point that he can lose the nomination is if either Ted Cruz or Marco Rubio are no longer in the race come March 15th. And we'll talk about that in later episodes of this update. On the Democratic side, Hillary Clinton went into Nevada last Saturday and pulled out a 5-point victory over Bernie Sanders. I think this is an important win for her because it demonstrated that she can win states where there isn't a lot of minority voting going on. I think that because of her victory in Nevada, she is far and away the hands-down favorite to win the Democratic nomination. Now, next Saturday, we'll have the South Carolina primary for the Democrats, and we'll see the illustration of what I'm talking about because over half the voters in South Carolina who will be voting in the Democratic primary are African Americans. So we're going to see her tremendous edge in that minority group demonstrated in South Carolina. Okay, so now what I want to do is talk about what's coming up on Tuesday. I know we have the South Carolina Democratic primary on Saturday, but really a lot of eyes are focused on Tuesday because it's Super Tuesday, March 1st. On the Republican side, there will be over 1/4 of all delegates up for grabs. And on the Democratic side, we'll have about 1/5 of all delegates up for grabs. Now, interestingly, the way that the Democrats and the Republicans allocate their delegates is completely different. And they use some real, let's say, complicated means of determining how they're going to allocate their delegates. I want to take an example of on the Republican side of Alabama, where they have about 50 delegates at stake. But the way they allocate is they take a portion of that and they award it to the statewide winner. And then like South Carolina, they take other parts of that and award it to the winner in each congressional district. But instead of just saying you win, you get them, in Alabama, there's some weird rules where if you get over 50%, you get them all. But if you don't get over 50% and somebody else gets over 20%, then you split them. So it's real complicated as terms of how a lot of these states will go into allocating their delegates. And the Democratic side is even sometimes more complicated because they have different ways of even determining how many delegates are at stake. One of the things they do is the more Democratic the state votes, the more delegates they are awarded. And you can see that in Tennessee and Massachusetts. Tennessee is a red state. Massachusetts is a very blue state. They're both about the same size, but Massachusetts has a lot more delegates in its cadre for Democratic candidates. Okay, now let's just for a minute talk about how this race is shaping up. I've already mentioned that Trump is clearing away the front runner going into Super Tuesday for the Republicans. On the Democratic side, actually, Bernie's actually kind of closing the gap with Hillary. Early in this race, she was just walking through the park. She was way ahead. But then Bernie came up and started catching her. And you can tell that Hillary was worried there for a while. And of course, Bernie, he's just loving it. So the latest national polls show Hillary Clinton with just a 5-point lead. But as I said before, I really do believe that because of the nature of the upcoming primaries and the minority strength that she has among African Americans, she is the hands down favorite to win the nominee. Okay, so next week we'll be looking back at Super Tuesday, and I hope you'll join us again next week for that. Talk to you later.